Radio WRNR studios. It's time for Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob Mario and David Welch.
Thank you, Cliff, and welcome into Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Rob is out today. Matt Miller, our sports director, is in. Matt, good to see you this morning.
Good to see you.
Of course, you have been here since 6 o'clock, so I feel a little bit funny saying hello to you. But on these days when you sit in for Rob, then you also have to do your own show at 5 o'clock today. So that would be called a split shift, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'd imagine. I'll go home and then later on be able to join Matt Crawford for Miller time at 5 o'clock. Then head out and try to play some church league softball. So it'll be a full day.
That will be a full day, and you'll be right back here tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock as well.
Looking forward to it.
Rob is enjoying, I think, just a couple of days off. I don't think he's traveling. I think he's just sort of recharging the batteries. And I will note that it is Rob's first day off in the calendar year 2018. So that's what I would call a strong work ethic.
Yes.
Our sponsors today, the Joe Ferretti Law Office, delivering first-rate service and results for our clients, and Miller, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram on Route 9 east of Martinsburg, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. That's a long warranty, I would think. Rob always asks us out, is that for the lifetime, your lifetime, or the lifetime of the car? And I always say, I think it's for the car.
I would think so.
I would imagine. Yeah, but anyway, we always love it when our local listeners take heed and support our sponsors. We hope you will do that, because without our sponsors and our listeners, I don't think we would have much of a show here on the morning. So welcome, everyone. It feels to me like a Monday today, only because yesterday was off and that felt like sort of a Saturday. So I feel like I'm beginning the week, but really we're just kind of wrapping it up today and tomorrow.
Yeah, short week.
Very short week. Rob thinks that we should have every Wednesday off. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. If you'd like to join in on the conversation today, of course, our phone number is 304-263-4560. And I want to say hello also to Sivan, who came into work, our intern, our summer intern. Sivan, how are you?
I'm good.
You didn't get the memo that if Rob's not here, you don't have to be here either?
Rob told me that I could come if I want to, so I did.
Oh, Matt, does that make you feel good?
It does. We are glad to have you.
Thank you.
We need to pull her in here at some point today or tomorrow, and we'll just make her a co-host of the show, which she kind of is already.
Yep.
Sivan, what has been the best experience so far this summer for you here at the station? Is there something that you've learned that you just know you're taking, other than having to show up? What's the best thing that you've learned this summer?
It's a lot more work than you think it is. You know, you just think that these guys just sit in this room and talk, but it's way more than that.
A little bit more, like most jobs, I would think.
Yes.
A little bit more complicated. My daughter thinks that Rob and I are just a couple little boys who come in here and have fun every morning.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought.
So you agree with my daughter?
Not anymore. I know now that it's a little bit more work than I thought.
And I want to say hello to our producer, Sherry Dieter Davis, and she and I had a little laugh when I came in this morning, as we normally do. And I have to say to you, Matt, that is one nice thing about how I start my day, is she is other than my spouse, she is the first one I see in the morning, and almost always is pretty cheerful about it. Matt, I was reading Facebook. Oh, one more thing. If you just want to mention all the ways that you can catch us here on the show. Of course, 740 AM, 106.5 FM. Those are the obvious ones. Also on Channel 10, cable in Berkeley County and in Jefferson County. If you have cable, you can both watch us, which is no big deal, and see us. You can see us and listen to us at the same time. We are also on, of course, our app at WRNR Talk Radio, and we are live streaming at talkradiowrnr.com. And in a couple of hours after the show, you can even go on YouTube and watch a replay of the show. And the quality on that YouTube, Matt, is really quite nice.
It really is. Now, see, we don't have to do it quite the same way you do in the mornings. In the afternoons, we're not on cable channel 10 live, so we can go directly live through the YouTube TV. Whereas right now, we're actually recording what we're doing live on Comcast cable channel 10 and posting that to the YouTube TV. And that's thrown me for a little bit of a loop this morning, because I have to do different things in the computer than what I'm used to.
Are you challenged, or are you doing okay with that?
A little change challenged. This morning, Matt Crawford joined me for Miller time instead of my joining Rob. And, I hear the beginning of the, getting ready for Miller time, and I think think of our show, and it's all one big, long piece in the computer. And in the mornings, it's segmented, and Rob has to hit 2 things. So I hear the first thing, and I'm going, okay, what's next? And then, oh, wait, I have to click that before it plays. So there's that moment of dead air, and then the misclick, and then it was fun.
And sometimes it all works at one time. It all kind of comes together for one grand show. Yesterday on Facebook, Matt, I'm going to talk about your Facebook, if you don't mind. Do I have your permission to talk on the air about your Facebook? You posted pictures of a vicious rainstorm that I guess was around your house. And you said, I never imagined living in a castle surrounded by a moat, but I guess this is as close as it gets. Wow, what a storm that just moved through. Now, what I found interesting about that is that where we live, which is essentially out on Route 45 near the Jefferson County, Berkeley County line, we had no rain. And what am I, 10 miles from you?
Yeah, well,
you're getting a flood, and 10 miles away, I'm getting no rain.
I'll get you even closer, because after we posted those pictures on our Facebook page, a friend chimed in and said, where exactly are you? And so I gave our address, and they are in Inwood. Now, we're off of Pitzer's Chapel Road, so, if you go out Pitzer's Chapel and then make a right-hand turn, you can go out by Art and Equipment Repair in that area.
Right. No, right, that's the area that you live in.
And you can be in Inwood in 5 minutes.
5 minutes, sure.
And yet that close, they said they heard the thunder, but they got no rain. And where we were, we got the brunt of it all. There was some really good thunder and lightning, which I enjoy personally. I like a good thunderstorm.
I do too. My dog doesn't like it very much.
I agree. Both of my dogs had to be put in their kennels so that they would, stay calm.
They freak out when that happens. But what's alarming about these pictures is that's just no regular little rainstorm. It wasn't like you got a little rain and we got no rain. You had flooding throughout your property here. I mean, it really does look like a moat around your house.
We've been there for 2 years, and this is by far the most rain. Even of all the heavy rains that we've had this spring, this is by far the most rain. Now, beside of our house is a dry weather bed, I guess you might call it, that is only there for water runoff. Now, that runoff, though, does come partially down off the mountain, works its way towards where our property is, and then turns and goes down the side of our property, where ultimately it ends up joining what is the creek that runs into Poorhouse Farm? Is that Tuscarora Creek? Because that's known as Tuscarora Pike, that works its way out from the city out towards Poorhouse Road. So it's a lot of runoff water, not just what was landing on our property, but kind of coming from the mountain as this storm system went kind of down the mountainside.
I kayaked with my son-in-law on Sunday out in the back creek and then out into the Potomac. It was a lovely day, and I would imagine that same creek probably was pretty high yesterday after these storms, and probably a lot different than the creek that we actually kayaked in. Anyway, I hope that everyone had a great 4th of July yesterday. For Debbie and I, it was a quiet one, actually. We didn't do very much. We just sort of took it as a kind of a lazy day, and so however you decided to celebrate yours, whether it was with family and cooking out, at least until the weather got rough in some locations. For those of you who went out to see the fireworks last night, I got several pictures on my Facebook of people who were enjoying some great fireworks. And whatever you did on the 4th of July, I'm sure that you can join me in wishing America, this great place that we live in, happy number 242. Happy birthday, number 242. That's a long time.
It is.
And when you think of it, it all started off as this sort of brave, courageous experiment. Did you get any parts of the conversation we had with Ray Smock on Tuesday? I found him to be I thought the conversation was just enlightening as we all, I think, got reminded a little bit about that this was just not a kind of a fun little event that happened 242 years ago when these leaders of 13 colonies got together and did something very, very special and very different and very courageous. And they all put their lives on the line for this. And I just think to be reminded of that was kind of a cool thing. Ray did a great job on Tuesday morning, I thought.
He did. I know one that I haven't seen yet around this 4th of July holiday, but occasionally you'll see it make its way through Facebook and or some social media that kind of lays out what happened to those who signed that Declaration of Independence, those who were a part of the forming of this country, and family that they lost, lives that they lost, fortunes that they lost as a result of saying we want to be free. We want our own nation. So
some people think now that, of course, the Declaration of Independence was 1776, and then the Constitution in 1789, a few years later, when that was adopted, and they were doing everything new. Everything was new. They were inventing as they went. They were creating out of their own minds and their own philosophies, if you will, a nation that had never been seen, a kind of nation that had never been seen before in the world. And it had to be exhilarating in one respect and terribly frightening in another.
I can only imagine. Yeah, that was one of the things I really caught out of what Ray Smock was talking about as you had him on the air on Tuesday. The idea that they were putting together a governmental system that was totally new to the world at that time.
There was another Facebook post that you and your wife, I guess your wife and you share a Facebook.
Yes.
And I have several friends who do that too, including my brother and sister-in-law. And you never really know which one's writing it when you have a dual thing going on like this. I thought you had written this, but it was actually Mrs. Matt, Dale Miller, who had written this. And I'm going to share this with our listeners. And if you want to comment on this topic, we're at 304-263-4560. The Facebook comment is, it's sad when you go to the store and there are more self-checkout lanes than people working. Even sadder when you talk to one of the few cashiers and find out that the store minimizes their hours so that they don't get benefits. Boycott, Dale's getting radical here. She brought out the boycott word. Boycott self-checkout lines. And there were quite a few comments on that, including one from Cresha Hornby, which I thought was interesting. She says, we went to a McDonald's in North Carolina, and they have self-checkouts. You place your own order, then the cook in the back calls your number. So we live in interesting times. And I know that I was even at Walmart. I had to go buy something early Saturday morning. And so there wasn't very many people. There was about 6:30 in the morning, maybe 2 checkout lines, and there was about 5 or 6 people in each one. So I went to the self-checkout counter, thinking I'd do this myself, and there happened to be a Walmart employee there. So I asked her to do it for me. So I even found a way in the self-checkout line to ask someone to do it for me. And I don't know why I have such a terrible phobia of the self-checkout lines, but your wife makes a good point, though. I don't think people like all this self-checkout. Do you? Too much automation?
Yeah, I think it's probably 50-50, to be honest. For some, I think it is that convenience, as long as there aren't lines. Now, and that'll become the issue. The longer the lines become at a self-checkout because someone is struggling to be able to get through that self-checkout, then I think that's when it becomes an issue. For some people, it's just that matter of convenience. I don't have to stand in line and wait to have someone do this. I can just roll through with 2 or 3 items and go. And when I go, I'm not a shopper. That's why whenever you see anything on my Facebook that says something about shopping, no, it's my wife. I'm the guy that takes my daughter with me, sometimes goes to the store and gets the 6 bare essentials we need and then goes back home or gets them on the way home. And in those cases, I don't mind jumping into that self-checkout because for 3 or 4 items, beep, 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 pay the bill, and I'm out. But I certainly don't want to go and get a full cartload of groceries and items and go through the self-checkout myself. No. In that case, I definitely want to get in a line where someone's going to, make sure that all of that is taken care of properly.
I think this falls into a kind of a larger sort of topic in a way, because I know that at my age, I still hold on to things that the way they used to be. And those things that the way they used to be should sort of still be around because they were nice things to have around. So, for example, the interaction of being able to go to the store and go up to a real human being who is going to bag your, price your groceries, your items, and put them in a bag and all of that. Those kinds of things just seem to me to be things that shouldn't change in a world where things are always changing. Now, I'm not knocking technology. I mean, obviously, I use it all the time in my work, in my personal life. This iPad I have in front of me is my favorite possession because I can do almost everything I need to do on it. I mean, if I want to order food, I can order food. If I want to watch a movie, I can watch whatever. Everyone has an iPad, and you can take it with you wherever you go. It's I love technology, but there are certain things about the past that I kind of miss. And I think the self-checkout is just one example of things that aren't the way they used to be anymore. It's kind of like the family eating dinner together every night around the table. I'm sure there are some families with children still in the household or couples who are empty nesters who actually do that. But I think they're the minority these days. I think we've raised an entire generation. We would call those whatever generation their name is. There's millennials, and then there's the under 20-year-old or 18-year-old now. I don't know if they've given them a name yet. Maybe they have. But this is an entire generation, and going on 2 generations, that have been raised not knowing what it's like to gather the family at the end of every day with mom and dad or whoever at the dinner table and have dinner. That's just something that's gone by the wayside. We don't do that anymore. And you wonder, at some point in time, will it have a repercussion in our society? Will there be an outcome that's not favorable to all of that? That, if you're 30 years old and you look back on your life and half the meals that you had between kindergarten and your senior year in high school were from a fast food place or something that you had to open the refrigerator up and make yourself, or warm something up that maybe one of your parents had made earlier in the day, but you certainly didn't grow up in many households experiencing what that means to get that family together, unless it's a holiday, of course.
Well, and I guess you hope that it's cyclical, if you will. In other words, if you haven't necessarily had that long enough and it comes into your mind, boy, I miss those opportunities, I'm going to make sure that I don't miss those opportunities or have my kids miss those opportunities, then the cycle begins to go back the other way, and maybe you begin to see those who put that emphasis back where it needs to be with that family meal. I know in our family growing up, we would also do usually the extended family meal a lot of times on a Sunday afternoon after church and be at my grandparents' or my
parents. Church, that's the thing some people used to do too.
That's true.
There are still some people who go to church every Sunday. But it didn't seem like it in a way, that is another part of our tradition in our culture generally. Fewer people do go to church. Fewer people have the Sunday family dinner in the afternoon. That used to be sort of mandatory when you and I were both children. That's just the way life worked. Not just in our home. It wasn't unique to our home. It's what all families on your block were doing at the time.
That's it. Yeah.
When did you guys start doing play dates?
Play dates.
Do you guys do play dates in the Miller household? I know the children are a little bit older now, but...
Yeah, I don't... As far as our own children, I mean, we've always fortunately had some kids somewhere around the neighborhood and always played together. And so as far as setting up specific dates, those came occasionally, but a lot of times it was just, let's go out and play.
Many of our listeners, of course, and I would be in this group, live in an interesting time now, because we have reached an age where we can actually remember the 50s and certainly the early 60s. We remember that there was a different America and a different way of life then. I think I've told this story before, but I was actually, in our household, we did not get a television until I was about kindergarten age, 5 years old. I find it to be unbelievable that I'm actually old enough to have lived in a home that did not have a television in it. That's remarkable. And of course, it was a black and white television at the time. We got color somewhere around 1963 when I was 10 years old. Mm-hmm. And so that was quite a remarkable thing. But if you look at the way things have changed just in the past generation or so, telephones. we don't have a landline in our home anymore. No. And I know, do you?
No, not anymore.
Don't have. There's no need to have a landline.
Right.
So people don't. There's the phone on the wall. I mean, I would imagine if a teenager today walked into a home and there was a phone on the wall, especially if it would be a dial one, but even a push button one, they would probably think, what the heck is that? That doesn't even, what do you do with that contraption?
Right.
That's something that you talk on. And so that...
you remember party lines. Where you weren't on an individual line by yourself, you could pick up your phone at home, right, and hear somebody talking and go, oh, sorry, and hang it back up and have to wait till they finish their conversation.
I think that's a little bit older than me.
Okay.
But I do recall them being around. And what I remember is my grandmother or my mother, especially getting on the phone and complaining that someone else is on the line, and I wish she would hang up so I could make my call, and she just goes on and on and on. But it was before I was actually using a telephone myself, so I kind of remember that. I remember them complaining about the fact that they couldn't just get on the phone anytime that they wanted to. Look how music has changed and how we listen to music.
Yes.
Only in the last, I mean, and this has been very sudden now with the digital age. It wasn't that. I still have a car that has a cassette recorder in it. I have a 95 Chevy pickup that's not a recorder but a cassette player.
Right.
That I can take. I don't own any cassettes. That's the problem. But if I had a cassette, I could put a cassette in. That's only mid-90s when that happened.
Oh, yes.
And so it's completely different now, and the changes that have happened, mostly for the good, I guess. I don't want to ever be one of those guys that sits around mowing the way things used to be. There are certain things I would love to see that are different than the way it would be the same. Kids going out in the neighborhood and just getting together and playing in the summer rather than to have play dates, those kinds of things. But technology, the advancement of technology, the way in which technology and medical advancements are curing disease and allowing people to live healthier and live longer, those things, just certainly can't be discounted. And I think that overall, you can't stop it anyway. So my attitude is we might as well embrace it. The good old days were the good old days. I think automated checkout counters are here to stay. I just want to tell your wife that.
Well, I mean, you pump your own gas, so now you can just pay for your own groceries and check them out yourself, too. So.
My wife does not pump her own gas. I just want to make that very clear. There are some people who are holding on to the good old days. Even though someone doesn't come out and do it for her, she will usually someone to do it. We're going to take a short break. You're listening to Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Matt Miller in for Rob. We're going to come back and talk about adult autism. Stay with us.
News update. People hoping to visit the Statue of Liberty on the 4th of July were out of luck after a woman protesting immigration policy climbed the base to Lady Liberty's foot. It took NYPD officers a few hours to get Therese Okamau down. She's scheduled to appear in federal court this morning. WCBS TV's Allie Bauman.
Okamau is charged with trespassing, interference with national park regulations, and disorderly conduct. She's being held at the Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan.
Police say she moved to the U.S. a decade ago. CBS's DeMarco Morgan has more from New York.
Okamau herself is an immigrant from the Democratic Republic of the Congo. She had arrived at the monument earlier in the day with an activist group known as Rise and Resist.
It never occurred to us that someone that we knew would attempt and accomplish something like this.
Annette Galdino is with the group. She says Okamau's protest was not planned.
The Park Service closed the island to visitors after the incident. CBS News Update. I'm Deborah Rodriguez.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. They say they're suing because they haven't been paid for working holidays for years. The Herald Mail reports that Martinsburg's paid firefighters are claiming the city's been in violation of the state's Wage Payment and Collection Act and want a commissioner appointed who'll figure out exactly how much each of them is owed. City Attorney Ken Sayer says the city's been doing everything properly and the suit fails to explain exactly how the compensation code's been violated. West Virginia Governor Jim Justice recently asked for a federal disaster declaration covering May and June's flooding. The state's U.S. congressional delegation has now joined that request. The Journal reports Shelley Moore Capito, Joe Manchin, David McKinley, Alex Mooney, and Evan Jenkins sent a letter to President Trump to that effect. City of Martinsburg offices are open today, and they'll be open tomorrow after being closed yesterday. There won't be recycling picked up this week, but trash pickup isn't affected by the Independence Day break. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
Now, with your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Yesterday's scattering of late-day showers and a few thunder showers dissipated through the late evening time, but have left some patchy fog around the area. Certainly humid, too, and as we go on through the day, the humidity will linger, although the clouds will be thinning out. Sunshine will gradually take charge, and it's going to be a hot afternoon. Highest temperature 90 degrees, light southerly winds. A random shower possible late at night tonight into tomorrow morning, and early morning lows back into the lower 70s. Tomorrow, the best chance for rain, showers and thunderstorms likely as a cool front comes through. Daytime highs lower 80s, and then it's dry and very pleasant for the weekend. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Howdy, cowpokes. Do your business cards look like they were designed by a code roper? Well, this cowboy knows the advantage of dealing with folks the old-fashioned way. When you order printed material on the internet, you're stuck with what you get. But when you need printed material to look just right, you want to deal with folks you know. And that's what you'll find at Panhandle Printing and Design. Local folks that have been delivering results for years. They can help with everything from design to production of stationery envelopes, business cards, invitations, vinyl signs, banners, vehicle wraps, and a lot more. They can answer all your printing questions, and you can call them on the phone or hop on your horse and go see them, because they're your one-stop printing shop where they have something for everyone. Panhandle Printing and Design at 124 North Maple Avenue in Martinsburg. Call 304-267-7400. You can even find them online, too, if you want to. If you need printed materials, don't deal with some city slicker you'll never meet. Trust the folks at Panhandle Printing and Design.
Hi, honey.
Where are you?
I've been in line at the post office for the last 30 minutes.
Why are you at the post office? It'll take you all day.
Where else do I go to ship my packages or drop FedEx off at?
Honey, going postal is way faster, has less lines, and friendly service.
Where's going postal?
It's right in the Commons Shopping Center in Martinsburg. They'll ship your packages quickly, and you can avoid the lines.
Going postal should be your first choice for all your shipping needs. Going postal, the Commons, Martinsburg.
WVU Medicine welcomes Dr. Sarika Bagri to the staff at WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood. Dr. Bagri is board certified in internal medicine and is now accepting new patients at Primary Care Inwood, conveniently located at 5047 Jaredstown Road, Suite 2B in the Inwood Medical Building. For more information or to schedule an appointment with Dr. Bagri, call WVU Medicine Primary Care Inwood at 304-229-6343. 304-229-6343.
Simply free e-checking from City National Bank. Perfect if you want basic checking with no monthly service fees or balance requirements. Stop by any of our 7 Eastern Panhandle locations or visit us online at bankatcity.com. City National Bank. Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Local politics, local business, and local topics on Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and David on Talk Radio WRNR, 106.5 FM and 740 AM, and Comcast Cable Channel 10.
Welcome back into the program. Nice to have you with us on this Thursday morning that feels like a Monday. This is Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Bad Miller in for Rob Mario today. Our sponsors during this segment of the show is the Berkeley County Health Department, offering public, clinical, and environmental services at 122 Waverly Court in Martinsburg, and Brown Funeral Homes and Cremations, Robert Fields and Sons, a family-owned full-service funeral home that has proudly served our area since 1880. And Rob, that is a very long, Matt, that's a very long time.
It certainly is, but we've used their services, as many have, I'm sure, within this community, and they do an outstanding job.
They are, in my mind, the nicest people I have ever met. I guess you'd have to be nice to be in that business, but they are just sensitive and wonderful, and I can't imagine a business with a better brand, if you will. That's the new word, brand. Have a good brand. Like we have a good brand here at WRNR, they also have a good brand as well. And speaking of good brands, I think when I think of local youth baseball in general, Just as I think in football, I tend to think of a powerhouse like the Bulldogs of Martinsburg High School. I think of baseball in this area. I often think of Jefferson County. Would that be fair?
Definitely on the high school level, but I know where you're going because we're talking Little League, and at the 10 to 12-year-old all-star level, Jefferson has not won a West Virginia State championship.
Is that right? And you'd have thought that over the years that would have been, I'm sure it has been, the breeding ground for all those great Jefferson High School teams. But anyway, they're doing well now, right? They're advancing as of Tuesday night's victory. They're going on. Where are they off to and when do they play?
They are headed to Huntington, and they'll join Bi-State as the two representatives from District 6. We had the broadcast of the Area 1 tournament, and then Monday and Tuesday we had the broadcast of the District 6 tournament, and it was Bi-State who wins the district championship, and then Jefferson beat Martinsburg in a close, hard-fought game on Tuesday night, so Jefferson will advance as well. That tournament's in Huntington, and it begins on July 20th.
And throughout the United States and throughout many other countries in the world, this same tournament is going on. This is a worldwide event.
It is.
That starts locally here in this district. It goes to the state. Then it goes off somewhere to the south for, I think...
It'll be the Southeast region in Warner Robins, Georgia.
Georgia, there you go.
Yep. And then that one winner from, I believe it's 8 states. 8 state champions
One
will
state
come
winner.
together,
One state winner.
and one of those state winners will win that regional championship and go to Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
They will go to Williamsport along with the regional champions throughout the United States. I don't know how many there are, but I think there's about 8 regions or so.
I believe it is.
And then they will compete against the winners of country champions. I know that I think Germany and I think even Saudi Arabia has a team.
Yeah, I believe so. Yep, the international version. So, yep, they're playing Little League Baseball at this age bracket right now, just like we are. Everybody working for that chance to get to Williamsport.
So I'm going to make a confession. I love watching the Little League World Series when it gets to Williamsport on television.
It's amazing how talented.
Absolutely love it.
Yes, some of these young kids are.
And sometimes even girls get into those championships, too. Remember a couple of years ago that one pitching star that
yes.
I think it was up in New York. Mm-hmm. So they do really well. Let's welcome in our guest for this segment. Her name is Lee Cloughfeather. Did I get that right?
You did.
How about that?
You're doing well.
Because it's spelled C-L-O-U-G-H, right?
Correct.
Feather, F-E-A-T-H-E-R. So when you look at it in printing, you could go a number of different ways with that, I guess.
Yes, you can.
So Cloughfeather, like plow feather. That's phonetically how I'll do that. Lee, are you the head of, or are you involved with?
I am the CEO and the founder of Daily Companions.
So that would mean you were the head of.
That's correct.
Tell us about Daily Companions. I know that we had the discussion, and I've looked up some of the information online, so I've got a feel for it, but it's better to get it in your own words, because the work that you're doing is really important.
It's extremely important. Daily Companion was founded because I had a brother with special needs, and he used to say, "Don't tell me what I can't do. Let me show you what I can do."
That's a good spirit.
It's a wonderful spirit. These individuals have so much to offer. Daily Companions offers, we're in what's called a behavior health intellectual developmental disability agency. The state has a waiver program. It's called the IDD waiver program. We support our individuals who are approved by the state, and we offer service coordination for those from age 3 to until whenever. We also offer behavior health specialists. We have a day habilitation program for those 18 years and over. And the nice thing is that we put our calendar of events on our website. So for the individuals that want to attend, they can look on that website and they can choose the days they want to come the next month. We do still have a few openings, and I believe they're on Tuesday and Thursday. We accommodate 16 individuals on a daily basis from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. We also offer supported employment, which is a big thing federally and locally. And the other thing we offer under waiver is apartment living. If individuals, they want to grow up, they want to live in apartments like their brothers and sisters. They don't want to live at home. So, and there are times the parents just can't care for them anymore. So we like to think that we can offer them a solution, and we provide staff 24/7. But what I want to talk about is we are the only agency that has been awarded the Customized Employment Grant from the state of West Virginia. This grant allows us to work with the students that are in special ed. Whether they are approved for waiver doesn't matter. We can work with those on the autism scale. And this is a big thing because sometimes they don't get a lot of assistance. We try to put on job fairs. We try to offer. We talk to people. We get things out. You know, it's unfortunate. We did a job fair, and you would think in this area, in the Eastern Panhandle, about 120 and 160 individuals will graduate from this. And they go through work exploration, and Berkeley County is known for their work exploration. I was really surprised that we had no one show up. It was unfortunate when I met with the schools that they could not distribute our information because Daily Companions is a for-profit. Evidently, this school district is the only one I have found in the state to have a policy that will not distribute information from an organization that's for-profit. And it doesn't really make sense because all the agencies are for-profit except Eastridge. So now we're getting into, it gets a little bit in a gray area, I would say.
So in the schools, the services that you provide,
they're not given out.
Information cannot be given to parents or students in the schools because the school district, this particular school district, has a policy that they do not distribute information for any for-profit organization. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So in Morgan County and Jefferson County, you'd be able to do that?
Yes.
Okay, so you have a better success in getting your word out there.
Mm-hmm.
Have you met with the school?
I have. I met with a couple. I've met with 3 different individuals.
And what have you been told?
They've just said, well, I'll take it to the board. And I've been doing this for 3 years. And, I'm sure that there are things they have. There's probably reasons I'm not even aware of why they have this policy. But
it would seem that you deserve at least an explanation.
I would like to get an explanation because my goal and Daily Companion's goal is to really promote the quality of life that every individual should be able to achieve. We have individuals, when you see our clients, our consumers, when they get a job, I had one of them come in, he got a job, and he came back, and I was in the center, and he said, Miss C, I'm just like you. I get a paycheck, and I pay taxes, and I'm proud to be an American. What do you say? They have so much pride.
After you stop crying, what do you say?
Exactly.
Right? You wipe the tear out of your eye.
Exactly. They are so proud of themselves. And, I can't think, we're so fortunate in the Berkeley County. Look at the development of jobs. Look at what the Berkeley County Development Authority has done. Hats off to Sandy Hamilton. And look at Tina Combs from the Chamber of Commerce. We have wonderful people we are working with. And the businesses, I can't tell you how great they are. We can call them, they'll talk to us, and sometimes we just take the individual out. Let's see how you can do stocking. Or maybe you're interested in learning how to run a register. Or maybe they need a certificate for childcare, so we get them into Blue Ridge. Or James Rumsey. There's different, we work with everybody. And the only thing I can come up with is maybe work exploration, maybe they all got jobs, or they just, maybe some don't want to work.
Let's break this down just a little bit. Let's just focus on younger people.
Okay.
And then we'll go into people who are adults or young adults and how you help them. So let's say, for example, you're a family and you have a son or a daughter with autism, who's been diagnosed with autism at whatever degree that might be, because I know there's less serious and more serious degrees of autism.
Correct.
What service, when they call you and make an appointment for you to see their son or daughter, and they enter into that world of yours, what service do you provide the younger people that they're not getting, let's say, at school?
What we can do at age 3, what we say to the parents, let's submit an application to the state waiver program. And at that point, the state then takes them, they fill out an application, they go for a psychological evaluation. And if they are approved by waiver, they have to be approved by the state before we can offer any services, whether they're on autism or, anything. To be on the waiver program, you must have an IQ lower than 70 and a developmental disability. So those are the state rules. Once they are approved for waiver, we can offer service coordination. We can offer a behavior specialist.
That the state pays for.
Correct.
Okay.
This is all paid through under Medicaid.
All right.
Just like this grant program is all Medicaid. Work exploration, I believe, is all Medicaid. So it just doesn't make a lot of sense. But what we can do, we can provide that. And if they need help in the home, we can provide a respite worker. So that's what we're working for.
And your goal with these younger people in the therapy that you offer, what's the desired outcome?
Our goal is to address any behaviors, to try to help that family lead a very normal life and how to adjust, but to also see that that family can remain a family and not torn apart because we can't go out because we have to take care of Johnny. They need that time to get out. They need time to go away for a weekend. Johnny needs times to be with his friends. You know, one of the things, we want to integrate them into the community, and we do, and we're doing a better job of it. The stigma is lessened. But you will still see, I remember one young man said, "Missy, you got to understand, when I'm with my peers, I'm normal. When I'm with you and your staff, I'm abnormal."
And what does he mean by that with his peers?
Because
Other people who have autism or just others?
Yes.
Okay.
No, yes, because they have their own language. They are amazing. They teach us more than we teach them. And I guess right now what I'm hoping for is that any parent out there with an individual 18 years or older that has graduated from work exploration or is on the autism scale will certainly call Daily Companions at 304-263-5008 and ask about our employment services.
And do you have a website they can go to?
We do. It's www.dailycompanions.com.
Dailycompanions.com makes sense. So it seems to me it would be a huge challenge for any parent who has raised a child with a developmental disability such as autism, and there are others. They know that year of adulthood is coming. Mm-hmm. They know that their child isn't going to be little forever. They are going to be grown men and grown women at some point in time. And so that's a whole different level of service now that you're providing for that young adult.
This is correct. Under the grant, I have two employees. One is what we call she is APSI nationally certified. APSI is the Association for People Supporting Employment. And our goal is to help individuals have employment, to get interaction with others in the community, and maybe to be able to find a roommate and live on their own. You know, EPTA is expanding all the time, and they are wonderful when we're trying to identify a route that will get our individual from their home to employment services. So we are beginning to grow very well in this area. It's exciting times in Berkeley.
Well, it's really needed, too, especially as more and more younger people seem to be diagnosed with autism, different than in past years.
Yes, and they're going to need some stabilization. What we have found in working with the individuals who have come through work exploration, I give a lot of credit to this program. We've been able to place them in jobs, big, good-paying jobs, where they get peer support from their coworkers and their supervisors. The people here are so wonderful. I mean, everybody is kind. They're willing to work with us. And our individuals are just growing, and everybody's amazed at how much they can learn, how their skills can develop. So we're very proud of the ones we have worked with.
On your website, there is one segment that I think caught my interest. It's called Customized Employment Steps to Success, Mastering Your Own Life, Authoring Your Own Story, which I love that. And it is a 4-step process toward entering the workforce into a position of competitive wage employment. Can you walk us through those 4 steps and tell us why it's successful?
Well, that is the grant. That is the customized employment grant, which we're trying to get out to everybody. What we do, we start meeting with the individual. The family comes into our center. We go through an intake process, so we get to understand the family, what their interest is, what the individual's interest, and what we would like to do. The next step is we then go out, we see them, how they interact in their home. We then take just the individual out to the community, because it's amazing. They will act one way in front of the parents, as we all know who have children, and they go out with someone else, and they're in the community having a a tea or a Coke and we're just talking, and they're going to act differently. And then the next step is that we start trying to assess skills. And on that third step is where we're looking to see what is your skill level. Do we need an entry-level job? Do we need to get you a certificate for childcare? What is it that we're looking for? And, of course, the fourth step is employment. We've added a fifth step, which is about retention and advancement. We have actually had individuals start working 3 days a week. They're now working 5 days a week, full-time, benefits. We're just so proud of what they've been able to achieve. And we keep in touch and we check on them. We check with the employer. Is there anything? Because if we can intervene before we have an incident, then we can almost guarantee we have retention.
You said this program has been in operation how many years now?
The grant, we first got the grant in January of 2014. So this is actually our fourth year starting the grant. So we're really trying to get the message out. We give out brochures anywhere and to anyone we can. We're trying to talk to everybody. So I just feel bad for parents who are just so frustrated. You know, it's like, when does my child get the break they deserve? You know, the one thing I believe is that everybody has the right to live with dignity, purpose, and hope. And by not working with everyone to achieve this, then we have failed. We failed as a human. But when you get my age, you know, sometimes you just have to say, you know, I do the best I can. And for what others have done, I don't need to judge them. You know, they're going to have to answer for what they've done.
What is your outreach? Berkeley County, Jefferson County?
and Morgan.
And Morgan.
Yes. We work with all three counties. We're working with parents. We try to work with teachers. I mean, I can't tell you how many have come into our center and said, I never heard about this program. And that's the shame. It's time for people to understand we have employment opportunities. We can find jobs. And they're not paying sub-wage. We are paying over minimum wage. We have jobs, like I say, we have had some start at over $13 an hour.
We're talking with Lee Cloughfeather. She is the CEO of Daily Companions Incorporated here in the Eastern Panhandle. There is a part of this, too, that we should think about, I would imagine, that the importance to the entire community.
Correct.
To all work together in ways that we can and support agencies such as yours that are going to lead to productive lives for people with disabilities. Can you talk to us about the importance to the community, not just to the individual? That seems pretty obvious. You're going to help them get a job and live a productive life. Why is that important to the community?
Our individuals are very active they want to be active in the community. They want to go places, meet people, but they also, they're talking now about how many job openings there are, and sometimes we're finding there's not enough individuals to fill these job openings, where our individuals can help close that gap. The other thing is that their families, you know, they're hoping that someone will always be there, but it gives structure and it keeps this individual from being a ward of the state. You know, if the family should not have anyone to take care, what happens to this person? Do they become homeless? What do they do?
When we first started the program, you talked about other agencies, that there is one that is a nonprofit.
Correct.
How many agencies such as yours exist in the Eastern Panhandle?
I want to say there's 3 to 4 others agencies.
Okay, and none of those, again, going back to the point, none
Correct.
of those
They're
are for-profit, and none of those are allowed to distribute their information, at least in the Berkeley County schools.
Now, what happens with Berkeley County, they have a transition summit they do in the fall. And what happens is that you can come in and meet families then, but once that one event is over, that's it. They have a recognition ceremony for those who are in work exploration, and they put special attention on the graduates. And I've said, please let me, come have a table outside. I don't have to be in the room, but let us get this information to the parents. And I was basically told parents don't attend it. So, I don't have answers. I have a lot of frustration.
I'm sure you work with employers throughout the area.
Oh,
because that's
many.
a part of that interaction.
Yes.
What are they saying about your program?
Well,
What's the feedback that you get in terms of the young people that you're actually placing in their businesses?
We are very fortunate. We have had wonderful support. When we did our job fair, we had 6 different employers show up. They were appalled that there weren't any graduates from the high schools attending. The other thing was we even had one employer did a video on their own website encouraging other employers to hire our consumers. I mean, when you have employers going out talking and supporting you, you can't, that says it all right there.
We have a couple minutes left. We're talking with Lee Cloughfeather. She's the CEO of the Daily Companions. Let's focus in on how people can get hold of you and the kinds of people that should be reaching out to you.
Any family that has a child 18 years or older that received an IEP, has a diagnosis on the IDD waiver or autism spectrum, they can call us 304-263-5008 and just ask for the employment department. That would be the best thing. We have, like I say, 2 professionals who do nothing but work with these individuals step by step all the way through the process and work with them after they have started their employment service.
And one last word on this grant that you've just received. Tell us about that again.
It is a customized employment grant. It is given out in the state. To my knowledge, there are 6 different agencies within the state that have been awarded, and we are the only one that I'm aware of in the Eastern Panhandle.
Lee, it was great having you today. Thank you for the information. I know that Matt and I learned a lot today, and I'm sure our listeners did too, but keep us posted on your progress.
Will do.
And we'll follow up with you at some point in the future, but it was great having you. Thanks so much.
Maybe we can come back and bring some of our success stories.
We would love that. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Well, Matt, we're going to break for some news, and then what we're going to do, we're going to come back and we're going to talk some politics today. We've got John Isner in. He's a Democratic candidate running in the open district being vacated by Republican Sarah Blair. And John Isner believes that it's time for a Democrat to be elected to that district. We'll talk to him about all this stuff going on in Charleston and throughout the state. This is Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Is just a memory. CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by TerraWorks Relief.
I'm Deborah Rodriguez. Dry weather and wind have been fueling dozens of wildfires in the west. Today, there's rain in the forecast for parts of Colorado where more than 100 homes have been destroyed. People have been evacuated from more than 2,000 others in Eagle County.
We're scared, right? But we have our pets, we have our kids. And we're going.
CBS's John Blackstone is monitoring a large wildfire near Sacramento, California.
About 3,000 firefighters have come in from around the west. They've been working day and night to control the flames on this. It's threatening more than 1,000 homes and buildings, but so far, no structures have been destroyed in this fire.
Cooler air will be settling in over the Northeast after days of high heat and humidity. CBS News meteorologist David Parkinson.
There's still going to be plenty of places that are going to be feeling close to, if not in the triple digits, and your high temperatures will either be in the high 80s or low 90s.
The heat wave continues in the Midwest, where temperatures will be in the upper 90s in places like St. Louis, Cincinnati, and Nashville today. An immigrant from the Democratic Republic of the Congo is scheduled to appear in federal court in New York this morning after she climbed the base of the Statue of Liberty on the 4th of July. Her name, Teresa Como.
NYPD emergency services officers were able to reach Akumu with a ladder, ropes, and harnesses.
I explained to her that, listen, we want you to come down. That would be the best way. I think the turning point was that we had a good rapport with us.
Says NYPD Detective Brian Glacken. Akumu is charged with misdemeanor trespassing and disorderly conduct. Marla Diamond for CBS News, New York.
Secretary of State Mike Pompeo is on his way to North Korea for a meeting with Kim Jong-un. CBS's Stephen Portnoy.
It was in Singapore last month that the president got Kim Jong-un to sign a document pledging his commitment to complete denuclearization. but it included no timetable for action or any requirement forcing the North to disclose its arsenal or submit to inspections. And amid reports that U.S. intelligence agencies believe Kim has no intention of relinquishing his nuclear program, Mike Pompeo's trip will put the nascent agreement to the test.
A 3-million-year-old fossil found in Ethiopia proves parents have been chasing after their kids for a very long time. Shows early hominids had children who climbed trees like apes and walked on 2 feet like humans.
The journal Science Advances reports a tiny foot no larger than a human thumb belonged to a 3-year-old toddler. Toes are curved and longer than humans, and the child's foot doesn't have a heel. The ability to scamper up trees would have helped them evade predators.
CBS's Larry Miller. S&P futures up 18. This is CBS News.
To prevent and relieve muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. Get TheraWorks Relief today at select Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid pharmacies or TheraWorksRelief.com. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. ZipRecruiter posts your job to over 100 job boards with just one click, and then their smart matching technology finds the right candidates. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. To prevent muscle cramps in your legs and feet, use TheraWorks Relief. This fast-acting foam is clinically proven to relieve leg and foot cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today at select Walgreens, CVS, and Rite Aid pharmacies or TheraWorksRelief.com. Ask your pharmacist for a TheraWorks Relief.
It's time to join the millions of people that meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Zoom gives you flawless video, crystal clear audio, and instant sharing across any mobile, tablet, or desktop device. But the best thing about Zoom? It just works. So ditch the distractions, join the movement, and meet happy with Zoom video conferencing. Visit Zoom.us to set up your free account today. That's Zoom.us.
Now your local news from Talk Radio WRNR. Accident reconstructionist reports say that Berkeley County Sheriff's Deputy Joaquin Moore, who was recently killed in a motorcycle crash near Martinsburg while off duty, was riding that bike at a, quote, very high rate of speed at the time he hit the SUV. Those reports also say that based on the terrain of the road, the two drivers could not have seen each other before impact. Moore was pronounced dead at the scene. He was the school resource officer and a track coach at Spring Mills High School. Moore was 30 years old. A heads up from the West Virginia Division of Highways about nighttime lane closures on Interstate 81 in the Martinsburg area beginning tomorrow. Strasser Construction will be performing shoulder work and crack sealing between mileposts 12 and 21. Work will take place between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. 7 days a week, during which time traffic will be reduced to 2 lanes as necessary. The project costs nearly $850,000 and is expected to be completed by August 3rd. I'm Adam Boardman, Talk Radio WRNR News.
Now, with your local forecast, weatherman Bob Kukin.
Yesterday's scattering of late-day showers and a few thunder showers dissipated through the late evening time, but have left some patchy fog around the area. Certainly humid, too, and as we go on through the day, the humidity will linger, although the clouds will be thinning out. Sunshine will gradually take charge, and it's going to be a hot afternoon. Highest temperature 90 degrees, light southerly winds. A random shower possible late at night tonight into tomorrow morning, and early morning lows back into the lower 70s. Tomorrow, the best chance for rain, showers and thunderstorms likely as a cool front comes through. Daytime highs lower 80s, and then it's dry and very pleasant for the weekend. I'm Bob Kukin, Talk Radio WRNR.
Are you looking for a full-service web design company right here in the Eastern Panhandle? Then look no further than Pro Design LLC, specializing in web design and development, web hosting, and application development. Pro Design is a locally owned company serving local clients since 1997 with a reputation of quality, creativity, and personal touch. Let Pro Design build or redesign your dream website. Find them online at professionaldesign.com or phone 304-676-9940.
The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building is now open. This new 3-story, 40,000 square foot facility is conveniently located off Interstate 81, exit 20 at the intersection of US 11 and Campus Drive. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills medical office building features many different offices and services for area residents. It's now home to urgent care, women's imaging center, lab services, and primary care pediatrics. The WVU Medicine Spring Mills office building now open to serve you.
I'm Matt Miller. I'm Matt Crawford. We may share the same name, but that doesn't mean we always share the same opinions. Because I believe in my guy. Because 70% of the time I'm going to get him out. This time he got the better of us and hit a home run. Congratulations, Bryce Harper. Now shut up and let's play tomorrow, because that's what baseball does. Pitch to him.
You know what fixes intentionally walking guys? If everybody around him is hitting the ball.
Listen to their take on sports weekday evenings at 5 p.m. on Miller Time on Talk Radio WRNR, the Panhandle Sports radio station.
Welcome back into the second half of Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Rob is out today. You know that if you were tuned into the first half of the show. Matt Miller in for Rob, as he has been since 6 o'clock this morning, doing double shift today. And Matt, I just want to give you a plug here, too, to those of our morning listeners who have not yet tuned in to Miller Time at 5 o'clock. It's a great show. You and Matt do such a nice job with that format. And it seems, if I've got this right, you sort of start with the local stuff.
As much as we can, yeah.
And then you kind of go to more of a state stuff, but you end up with the national and the major league stuff towards the end of the show, usually, that at least the times I get to listen.
Yep, at times. And, of course, at this time of the year, there's a little less going on, obviously, on the local level, as the high school and the college athletics are not in their seasons. So probably a little more of an emphasis maybe regionally and nationally during this time. But, yep, the emphasis as much as we can is to be on that local sports scene.
I know you and I both love Major League Baseball and follow it pretty closely. I'm a Dodger fan. I know you're a Rangers fan. And as we reach the halfway point here in the Major League season, and the All-Star break next week, which is always very exciting, especially this year being held at Nats Park. Do you got a ticket to that, by the way?
I do not.
We don't have media tickets for that. Huh?
We have one media credential. Our own Matt Crawford was the lucky one to receive that credential.
Is that right? I didn't get in on that drawing, I don't think.
No, well, the Major League Baseball made the choice.
I'm not talking about Major League Baseball. I'm just wondering why Crawford got the ticket and I didn't. That's really what I'm asking you.
We sent in a list of names, and they came back and said, here's the name we're giving it to.
Okay.
So,
well, I don't know.
I don't know if they drew it out of a hat.
Okay.
If they did rock, paper, scissors, I don't know.
All right. Our phone number, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just going to move on. Who do you see making the close in the second half of the season? Do our Nats have a shot at this thing?
They have a shot because they're a talented baseball team. The question is, when will they put it all together? The pitching has been there for the most part, even in the midst of this horrible, month of June, and now the start to July has not gone well either, with the 3 losses in a row to the Red Sox. But the big issue is the hitting. They have not put the baseball in play. Too many strikeouts, not enough walks, not enough hits with runners in scoring position. They're averaging 3 runs a game since the month of June began.
Yeah, that's tough.
You can't win.
That's really tough. Yeah.
And so if they can get that offense going, they clearly have the talent to get it done.
Our phone number is 304-263-4560. Savon, our intern, has she hung in with us the whole time? You still there, Savon?
I'm here.
Okay. Now, what did you think? The first half of the show, was it interesting? Did you learn a lot?
Yeah, it was interesting, actually.
I thought it was, too.
About the self-checkout, we have a lot of opinions.
Oh, we do.
About it. We have over 20 comments on Facebook, and most of them are people who dislike self-checkout.
So they took my side on that, didn't they?
Yes, they did.
Wow. Very nice. Okay, well, good report. Thank you. We were talking earlier about a self-checkout system that has been created in our culture today, and that was brought on by Matt's wife, Dale. So, Dale, thank you for triggering such a good online conversation. Our producer today is Sherry Dieter Davis, and, of course, you can listen to us on 740 AM, 106.5 FM, cable channel 10. We're streaming on the internet at talkradiowrnr.com, or you can download our app at WRNR Talk Radio. And if you miss all of that, you can go to YouTube around noon today and go to WRNR TV, right, Matt? And you can watch the entire show.
The entire show. Although a small portion of the last segment, you'll see some advertisements and not us, because I didn't flip the switch in time.
Okay. I'm not really sure
There is a routine.
What are we supposed to do on that?
A routine to any work, right?
Yes, there is.
And I am out of my routine when it comes to the morning shift. It has been, as you said, Rob has taken off his first day of the year as far as a vacation day. And so to jump into this morning shift, after not being in it for so long, there are certain little elements that slip by you. So hopefully by tomorrow, I'll have more of those in my routine.
Good segue to our next guest. John Isner is a Democratic candidate running for the State House of Delegates here in Berkeley County, part of that district in Morgan County as well. John, it is an open seat. It has been represented by Sarah Blair the last 4 years. She is She's retiring at the young age of 21. Now, she's moving on to some educational opportunities and is not running for re-election. Welcome into the program. It's been a while, so it's nice to see you.
Yeah, it's been a while. I really appreciate you guys having me. Thanks for. I also am not a big fan of self-checkouts, just so I can put my
there you go. I think that's a good position to be on today. So good. We put that on your website, on your issues.
Yeah, that'll be under issues.
I told Rob yesterday on the program, I said, if I ever run for office, one promise I'm going to make on my platform is I'm going to work to make it illegal to do telemarketing calls of any kind. I don't care about the First Amendment rights. I don't care about free speech. I don't want to hear it. I just want them to be illegal. Rob said I'd get some votes.
I may donate to your campaign if you do that. That sounds like a good. I might take that issue.
So since we've seen you last, you had just declared for office. You were, I think, finishing up law school at WVU.
I had just finished.
Just finished law school up. You're now at directing the debate and forensic program at Shepherd University.
Yeah, I just took that over about a month ago.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's good to have a job.
Yeah, I love jobs. That's part of my platform. I'm a big fan.
That's good. Especially for myself.
Yeah, so I think jobs are great for everyone. But yeah, that program has a really prestigious history, and I love debate and forensics. It's actually how I went through undergrad. I had scholarships for that, and so it's near and dear to my heart, and to take over a program like that is definitely an honor.
What has changed since the last time we talked to you as this campaign has progressed? We're now into the month of July. As a former political consultant, I used to call these the dog days of the campaign. Dog days because no one's paying attention particularly at this point in time, and it's too early to start your advertising program. And so what does a candidate do during the summer months in an open seat that you hope to put it all together in come November?
Well, you could probably tell right now, so this is actually, weirdly enough, this is the first summer I've ever been completely bald, so I didn't know to wear a hat when canvassing. So now I'm dealing with some sunburn on my head, but we've been canvassing. That's what we've been doing. I don't have a lot of name recognition.
Going door to door, you mean?
Yeah.
Handing out brochures?
Door to door, talking to people, asking them what matters to them. That's been a big thing.
What are they telling you?
Well, right now, one of the things is education. People are talking about that because they still remember the teachers walkout. A lot of things that are coming up as well is Social Security. They don't, we should drop the tax off Social Security. That's something that we should do. I don't know why we're continuing to try and make money off of that when these people are trying to live off that little income.
Talking about the state tax on Social Security.
Yeah, because we're only like one in 13 states that do that, and then they wonder why we're losing senior citizen population. It's because they're leaving to go to those other states. And I've learned a lot from canvassing and going door to door because there are issues that I never thought about when.
Such as?
Well, for instance, the other day I stopped by a house and. The gentleman that I spoke to was really, really connected with motorcycles. That's one thing that he really talked to me about at length, and the different types of lights that are allowed to go on motorcycles now. He had actually worked with John Overington in the past to get some legislation passed, and he was worried because John is gone now, he's retiring, and he wanted to know how I could help. And so we discussed probably for a half hour different types of lights that go on motorcycles. I had no idea that this was an issue at all. No politician talks about that.
I'd call that a niche issue.
It is.
Probably.
It is. It definitely is. But it's one of those ones that I never would have put any thought to if I hadn't knocked on that door.
One of the things that I think all Democratic candidates must think about as they enter into a general election in this environment that we're in, generally in West Virginia, which has tended to be pro-Trump and pro-Republican, is how do I run and win in a district that has voted for the Republican candidate the past at least 3 and probably 4 or 5 elections? that went overwhelmingly for Donald Trump will likely vote for Patrick Morrissey. I'm not saying that for sure, but likely vote for Patrick Morrissey. How do you win those voters back that have been voting just culturally and out of habit by now on the Republican side? How does John Isner win those voters back to come back over on your side?
You got to get in front of them. I mean, that's really the issue is that, I knocked on a development this weekend. We knocked 200 houses this weekend in 100-degree weather. And it's probably like, it's so weird. They probably see the 6'2" bearded man knocking on a door and they're like, wait a second, should I answer? But luckily, most of them do. But you got to get in front of them.
You have such a good sense of humor. I'm sure you win them over in the first 30 seconds.
But they're the people that I spoke to, and like I said, this is a big development in my district. It's about 200 houses. And you would think, oh, that's a targeted development. People knock on those doors. One gentleman I spoke to had lived there for 21 years. Nobody had ever knocked on his door. He's
no candidate.
No candidate.
Describe your district geographically so our listeners who are in your district know that they're in your district.
Sure. The easiest way to do it is just to name the cities or towns that are in it. You have Hedgesville. Pretty much all of Hedgesville is my district. There are some places that are outside. It gets cut up a little bit. Parts of Berkeley Springs, we have a little bit of Martinsburg, and then some Fallen Waters.
So kind of going out Route 9 then into Hedgesville, that general area would most likely be in the district you're running in.
Yeah, Route 9.
Lots of building, lots of growth in that area.
It is, yeah. We're seeing a huge, massive amount of development that's been going on there in terms of residential areas. So we're adding voters, every day.
You mentioned education as one of your top issues, and then you threw in the whole teacher strike. When we look back on the teacher strike, which is, of course, an issue that we covered pretty thoroughly on this show for several weeks. Where does that stand now? What's the fallout on that now? Because basically, the way I read it, the teachers and the public employees and the school employees essentially got what they wanted, which at the end, a 5% pay increase. Are they still angry at anyone, or are they rewarding and punishing certain politicians for not coming to the table fast enough? Are they still out there intending to work in November, even though they got what they wanted?
Well, I think that they got, in terms of pay raise, they got enough, but PIA is not fixed by any means.
And they're still angry about that.
I'm still angry about that. I'm a PIA member.
Okay.
So, I could tell you I went to the PIA task force. I don't know if you all went or not, but the stories that I heard were...
We've interviewed people who have been intricately involved in the process.
And I heard some heartbreaking stories. There are people who had diabetic children who could no longer afford the medicine because the medicine was no longer covered, and when they went up to the pharmacy, it was $1,500 to get the one medicine that they needed because PIA said, well, we're not going to cover that company anymore. PIA is still broken.
Is there an idea that you have that if you were on that commission that you would put forth to try and, if you will, solve at least some of the problem? What would it be if John Isner was sitting on that committee? What would you bring forth?
Well, I think part of it needs to be competition. We talk about it all the time in insurance companies that competition creates better rates and better benefits. So if we opened it up to more than just Humana, because Humana has the contract right now, from my understanding, and they're the only ones that have had the contract. But if we tried to get let's say 5 insurance companies competing over the policy and things like that, I think that we could create a better system of insurance for PEIA members. Now, I haven't done a ton of research on that. I just know how healthcare tends to work, and competition tends to drive down prices and drive up benefits. So that's what I would first start with.
Do you think, John, we're talking, by the way, with John Isner as a candidate, Democratic candidate for the State House of Delegates in, what is it, the 59th district, thank you, which is Morgan County, parts of Morgan County and parts of Berkeley County as well. Is state government broken right now? Is Charleston working? And I'll tell you why I asked the question. It seems like an obvious question to ask someone who's running on the Democratic side, first of all, or any side, I would imagine. But we're looking at $1 million rental cost for vacant space. We're looking at money that $150 million that isn't getting to the homes, to rebuild the homes of the people in the flood situation a couple of years ago. We're talking about a state Supreme Court justice who quite possibly will be impeached in the next month or be up for impeachment. These are things that I think West Virginia voters are looking at. I don't think they've blamed either side for it yet. They might in time, so I don't think the voters are saying, hey, it's all the Republicans' fault or all the Democrats' fault. But I do think they're looking and saying, scratching their heads and saying, there's something going on down there that isn't working, and I might take it out on somebody in the voting booth in November. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, I think you're right. I think accountability is broken. That's really been the issue. There's been no oversight when it comes to the last, I mean, you could probably go back 10 years and still even farther to say, look, nobody's watching what people are doing. No one's making sure that things are being done, and that's a huge issue. Do I blame either party? No, I don't think it's a party issue. I think it's a people issue. I think it's one of those things that they essentially did half the job and then quit there, and that's how these things happen, is people forget to continue to check back into the things that they've done, such as allocating money or creating new, you're talking about the flood recovery program that built 0 houses after after we were told that it was going to do such good things for West Virginians. But yeah, it's an oversight issue for government programs like that and for our officials. We need more accountability there.
You have on your website, in addition to education and teachers, which we've already discussed, you bring up as the issues that mean a lot to you, that you want to focus on, the opioid addiction problem, issues related to the economy and infrastructure. Take any one of those and tell us what your thoughts are.
Sure. Something that a lot of people don't know about me is that my dad was an addict. I mean, he dealt with addiction.
A drug addict.
Yeah, he was addicted to a lot of things. And
Mm-hmm.
he was an alcoholic for a long time. He was addicted to opioids, and you know, we grew up in a household filled with domestic violence. I mean, that was something that was a big issue in my home until, you know, he eventually left. And so I get what people are going through when it comes to addiction. I see what it does to families, because it's done it to my family. We need things that are actually going to create programs that are going to get people better, not just for a short term, like 30 days or 3 months, but for the long term. And that's something that we've kind of stopped at. We get short-term programs that help, and then all of a sudden they get clean, and then we say, okay, keep doing what you're doing. They have no ability after that.
What are we not doing now? Aren't we doing many of those things now to help families such as the ones that you had? Is there something beyond that we're doing now that needs to be done?
Well, it's the availability. I mean, we see
availability of what programs? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we have programs in the state. There's no doubt about that. But for instance, right now, if somebody tries to get a bed, for instance, in one of these programs, there are no beds available. Everything's booked because this issue is so big, and these programs are so small that we don't have the availability for people just to go and enter these programs because all the beds are taken.
You have brought up something also on your website about the economy and jobs. Here we have now, it looks like we're going to end this fiscal year with a surplus. It looks like whatever happened in the legislature last year, they did a pretty good job of bringing a budget forward that ended up with a surplus. We have a pretty healthy job outlook, at least in this area at the present time. Talk to me about what you do beyond that. I mean, those are pretty good headlines for Republicans, I would think. How do you play into that as a Democratic challenger and say, okay, that's all fine, but we can do better? There's still problems that need to be solved.
Well, I mean, I teach at Shepherd. I see what is actually going on in terms of the jobs that we have. I have a lot of kids that graduate and have nothing that they can do. They go and they wait tables. And those I don't think are the jobs that we're really wanting.
Nothing wrong with waiting tables.
No. Trust me. I worked throughout law school. I worked at a bowling center. I worked at a bowling center front counter. I know what it's like to work in a service job.
That would be a great question to ask all candidates. Tell me what the weirdest job is you've ever had. I'll ask that in a minute.
There is nothing wrong with that. And trust me, if I could do that job long term, I would, but I just can't. I'm not able to do a service job that long. But that's also not why people go to college either. I mean, for instance, teaching political science, most of these kids are getting these political science degrees, and they're either going to law school or they're graduating with no job, and they're scared. I mean, that's an issue, and then they're leaving the state for a better job, or they're going to D.C., or they're going to Maryland or Virginia, and that's where I think we can do better. I think we can create better career opportunities. Yes, there are jobs out there, but there are not a ton of careers out there in West Virginia. We need to start focusing on that.
Do we need to, is there places in state government that need to be cut? I mean, we hear a lot of talk about waste, fraud, abuse, or overspending. Have you ever thought through what you might do if you were elected to work with whoever you might be working with, your colleagues, to look at government spending? For example, education, big issue to you. A lot of people make a very good case that we have a bloated education bureaucracy. Talk to me about your thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, I think that there are definitely places that we can cut spending, but we have to do it, first off, we have to do it smart. We can't just go around cutting everything because we want to cut things, and that's fine. But yes, there are places that we can make cuts. DHHR proved that with the vacant building issue that we had. But there has to be a look into these programs that says, okay, this is the total budget and this is where the money's going. And we have to take time, legislators have to take time to actually see where money's going. Because right now they're getting budgets, they're reading them, and then they're approving them. I mean, that's what's happening. We're not seeing where money's actually going, and that's what we need to do a better job at doing.
We're talking with John Isner. He's the Democratic candidate in the 59th District. We only have a couple minutes left, and I would be remiss, John, and I can't let you get out of here until you offer up your thoughts on the big issue in West Virginia, and that, of course, would be the impeachment of State Supreme Court Alan Lawfrey, and quite possibly others. If you were in the legislature today, talk to me about what side you might be on in that debate.
I mean, I definitely would have been on the side where we would have allowed voters to choose the next Supreme Court justice. There was an amendment that went through to try and get through the impeachment process, put a deadline on it so voters could pick the next Supreme Court justice. I think that since it's an elected official, I would have probably backed that amendment. That's something that I would have been on that side. And I think right now the evidence isn't good for Justice Lawfrey. I mean, it's not good. So he has a lot of explaining to do and a very short time to do it. I mean, we can't just continue to drag this on.
But do you see any way, based on what you know right now? I mean, it seems to me the lying to the state legislature and the finance committee and all of the allegations that have been handed down by the U.S. attorney, I don't see that there's any way he gets out of Dodge here without having to leave office, whether he resigns or gets impeached.
I'm actually surprised he hasn't resigned. I mean, I wouldn't want to go through an impeachment process with all that evidence against me because that's all signs point to guilty right now, and that's an issue. I mean, he should be gone.
Of course, we'll have you back on several occasions before elections, so this is not the last time, but tell people how they can get hold of you, your website.
Yeah, my website is johnisnerwv.com, and my phone number, I give it out to everybody. It's 304-991-0714. That's my personal number. I answer every time. I'm willing to talk to anybody that wants to talk.
It was great having you. Good luck in your campaign. I look forward to a really hard-fought, tough, close, competitive race there between you and your Republican opponent, and our best wishes are with you. Keep in touch.
Thank you.
Make sure you come back on a regular basis.
Definitely.
Love having you. And that'll wrap up that segment. We're going to come back in just a moment here on Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Matt in for Rob. We're going to be talking with S. Marshall Wilson, delegate here in Berkeley County, and after that with Rob Cornelius, the Wood County Republican chairman, leading the charge against maybe what might end up as another impeachment or resignation by Governor Jim Justice. You're listening to WRNR. Stay with us.
It's the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram in Martinsburg. Stop in now for great deals on a great line of Jeep products. Get $1,000 cash back on a 2019 Jeep Cherokee with financing at 0% for 60 months. How about a new 2019 Cherokee Latitude 4x4, only $219 a month, or a 2018 Jeep Wrangler JK for only $296 a month. Get bonus cash
cash up to $6,000 off a 2018 Renegade, plus $500 trade. Stop by and test drive a Chrysler Pacifica and get free movie passes. It's all at the Jeep Celebration event at Miller's Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty on Kelly Island Road, or online at millerschryslerjeep.com. All payments based on approved credit, taxes, tags, and processing fees extra. See dealer for details.
L.A. Roberts is Berkeley County's oldest jeweler, where every season is new and exciting. In fact, new is old school to us, and though it's nothing new, our old traditions like exceptional service, quality, and value maintain L.A. Roberts Jewelers as the old master among so many new kids on the block. Whether you're a newcomer or part of the old guard, entrust all your fine jewelry needs to L.A. Roberts, Old World Jewelers for a new age, in historic downtown Martinsburg.
If you're a victim in a motor vehicle wreck or injured due to another person's fault, at Ferretti Law Office, we get to work protecting your rights and getting you the money you need and deserve. The insurance companies handling your claims want a fast and cheap settlement. Before making that mistake, call Ferretti Law Office at 264-8505 to discuss your claim for free. You did not choose to be injured, but your choice of law firms can make a difference. At Ferretti Law Office, we're here to help.
Let's face it, sometimes local is just better. Locally grown, locally sourced, shop local, eat local. But what about local expertise? At Allstate, Gary Kelly is just that, a local. So contact Martinsburg Allstate agent Gary Kelly today so he can help you with protection that's right for you and the things you love most. Call 304-263-4596. Allstate, are you in good hands? Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Assurance Company, Northbrook, Illinois. Allstate Vehicle and Property Insurance Company.
We're back here. Welcome back into the program. I'm David Welch here on Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. Rob is out today. Matt Miller is in for Rob. You can listen to us on 740 AM, 106.5 FM, cable channel 10. We're streaming on the internet. You can get us at talkradiowrnr.com or download our app at WRNR Talk Radio. And in about 2 hours after the show's over, you can see us on YouTube. Just go to YouTube and go to WRNR TV. Our sponsor for this segment, Bechtel Jewelers, longtime sponsor of this program, West Virginia's largest Pandora retailer on Route 11, South Inwood, next to Viva, Mexico. Down there in the same territory, Matt, where one S. Marshall Wilson resides and represents the fine folks of Berkeley County in the State House of Delegates, and he joins us by telephone on the Berkeley and Jefferson County Medical Center WVU Medicine Talk Line. S. Marshall Wilson, welcome into Eastern Panhandle Talk.
Good morning, Dave. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate the opportunity.
Oh, always. And you're serving our country in the Army this week, if I understand correctly.
I'm making up for some lost time that I was not able to serve during the session, of course. So I'm at my unit right now, trying to get some plans written and some paperwork done.
And where is that location, or is it secret?
I'm in Adelphi, Maryland.
Okay.
I'm in the Maryland National Guard. I made that choice so that I wouldn't have a conflict of interest as a delegate and as a soldier. So.
Well, we don't have you for a long time, but the reason I wanted to have you on, we haven't talked to you since the impeachment stuff has happened. I assume you were down in Charleston, and I assume that you did, in fact, vote to assign to the Judiciary Committee to begin the process. And I'm just, where are you on all of this impeachment stuff? Is Alan Lawfrey, have you made a decision on what needs to happen there?
No, of course I haven't made a decision. This is a process, and that brings me back to your discussion a few minutes ago with Mr. Isner. He said that he would have voted in favor of the amendment to put a time limit on this process. Well, a couple of questions about that. The first is, since when in the United States of America do we make decisions about people based on allegations? How would you like to be undergoing a process like this and have a time limit on your due process? That's not how we work in America.
Of course, those who advocate the time limit, I think, are saying it because at some point in time, if they don't get this done, then the governor will be appointing a state Supreme Court justice, and the voters will not have that vote in November, at least for the next couple of years. So
and the flip side of that is that the voters chose Mr. Lawfrey, chose Justice Lawfrey. And what we're talking about here is actually overturning the results of a free and independent election. So we're talking about overturning the will of the people. So I understand Mr. Isner's point, and I understood that point when it was made on the floor, and it was a tough decision for me because I believe that the voters are the true rulers of the land, as I've said a million times on your program before, and you know that I really believe. However, when it comes to the point that we are discussing the overturning of the results of a free election, this is a meticulous process. It needs to be done right. And then, of course, you also alluded to the fact that this might end up being an impeachment of not just one justice, but 2 or 3 or maybe 5. So we have to do it meticulously. We have to work through the process. We have to make sure that we're right and that we do the right thing, and that we do right not only by the justices, but by the voters who elected them.
I've asked this question of everybody of both parties that I've interviewed so far during this whole situation, and I've asked them, when you were there voting for what could become articles of impeachment the next time you're all together and basically what amounts to a trial, how heavy is that on your shoulders as a member of the House of Delegates to be thinking, I am going to quite possibly be casting a vote to remove the highest ranking legal official in the state of West Virginia? What does that feel like to do? Because you don't go into that with a sense of glee, I wouldn't think.
No, sir. No, sir, I don't. And one of the issues that's been raised is, and just in private conversations with my friends here in the Eastern Panhandle, one of the issues that they've raised is, well, the Chief Justice leans more your way, philosophically speaking. So would you be willing to give him a miss, as it were? And the simple fact of the matter is, from the one to whom much is given, much is required. The more responsibility you take on, the higher the position. Excuse me for this, but I'm going to quote Spider-Man. With great power comes great responsibility. And, the idea that we would even allow thoughts of, well, this guy makes decisions my way, so I want to kind of keep him there. This guy doesn't make decisions my way, so let's get rid of him real quick so we can replace him with someone who might. That needs to go out the window. The only thing that matters here is due process, working through this, doing it right, taking it seriously, and upholding our Constitution and upholding the will of the people of this state.
Some of my Democratic friends in the legislature have said that this process should have begun a long time ago, and I sort of want to run away from partisan arguments in this situation because this is one thing that probably shouldn't be partisan. Something should be, something shouldn't be. But the Republicans are being criticized by some for not having begun this process, let's say, back in, February or March at an earlier process. That criticism. And why is that? Why wasn't this situation brought up then? Did it take the indictment and the announcement from the U.S. Attorney to make this happen, to ignite this happening?
David, it's going to sound like I'm ducking the question. Please understand that I'm not. I'm simply answering the question.
You quoted Spider-Man last time, so go ahead and take a duck. It's okay.
I'm not ducking the question. I'm simply answering the question as straightforward as I can. You have to ask the people who made that decision to understand why they made that decision. I'm not one of those people.
Well, I guess the process will play out. There's a lot of responsibility in that. We wish you the best. Let me move on to a couple of other things that have been in the news lately, because I'd love to get your take on this, because of all the people I know who love to talk about waste, fraud, and abuse in the state government, it's probably you. Your comment...
Have you met Mike Folk?
Oh, yeah, Mike. Yeah, Mike's up there, too. I'm interested in your thoughts on this, what I consider to be just a travesty. And that is $150 million of federal money that, for whatever reason, isn't getting to the people who are in that flood situation, who still don't have their homes rebuilt. What in the heck is going on in your mind, Marshall?
Dave, I know you get tired of me using military analogies, but please bear with me. It's been almost my entire adult life, okay? When I was training cadets, people who wanted to be officers, when I was teaching LSU ROTC, I overheard one of my cadets. I taught leadership. That was one of the courses that I was tasked with. I overheard one of my cadets saying to another one, well, rank does have its privileges. I stopped him right there and I said, brother, rank has no privileges. It only has responsibilities. Being in charge means one thing and one thing only. It's all your fault. The governor of this state is not only the chief executive, he is the chief of the executive branch. If you can't manage your unit, you need to be replaced with someone who can. It's nothing personal. Doesn't mean you're not a nice guy. Doesn't mean you don't tell cool stories about gators and crocodiles and stuff. What it means is you're not getting the job done. And if you're not getting the job done, you need to go find a job you can do and let somebody else take this job on.
What you're saying then is that we had the wrong guy in charge. That guy now has been replaced, and you expect better things out of the new team that's been brought in.
No. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we had the wrong guy in charge of the executive branch.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
Yes, sir. I'm sorry. Let me tie these two ideas together here.
You're talking about you're talking about the governor now.
Absolutely, the chief executive, the chief of the executive branch. Yes, sir. We may find people between the people who are actually waiting for the money and the governor who are specifically responsible for specific failures. But the governor, the chief of the executive branch, is responsible for the behavior, for the actions, for the performance, for the task accomplishment of the executive branch. I'm not saying that every time somebody fails, the governor should be fired. I'm saying, when was he holding them accountable to do their jobs? Apparently never.
Our next guest that we're going to have on is the chairman of the Republican Party in Wood County, Rob Cornelius, who has been leading a statewide effort to actually address the specific problem of the governor by essentially having him not be the governor anymore before his term is over. Is that a movement that you would support?
Yes, sir. As a matter of fact, I very actively support it, and I've been working hard for it in Charleston.
Okay, so this is a movement. Tell me why you think the governor, should he be impeached or should he be asked to resign? What do you think the remedy is here? Are we talking about another impeachment?
Well, yes, sir. As I said before, he is the chief of the executive branch. Everything that branch does or fails to do is his responsibility. Like I told my cadets, being in charge means one thing and one thing only. It's all your fault.
So I just happen to have on the other line, because I'm going to bring Rob in after you. Would you mind if I brought him in now to join this discussion,
Please.
Marshall?
No, sir. That would be fantastic.
Let me bring in Rob. Are you there? Rob Cornelius, are you there?
You punched me through the delay. I promised to behave.
Okay.
Good morning, guys.
This is Rob Cornelius.
Hello, How are you?
He's the Republican
Delegate,
chair.
how are you?
Rob is the Republican chairman in Wood County, and so I thought, what the heck? We have Rob coming on as a second guest. We're talking about the same topic. I don't even know if the two of you know each other. Do you?
We've met a time or two. He's a fellow patriot, and again, you guys have seemingly a lot more of those in the Eastern Panhandle and some other parts of the state. So, as always, he and Delegate Folk and a lot of those guys out there do a great job.
Rob, we've had you on a couple of times before because we're intrigued by your movement as a Republican that you would hope the outcome would be an impeachment of the current governor, Jim Justice. If I remember correctly, part of why you think that should happen is because he's not showing up for work, and you have it, I guess, documented that this is a governor who just doesn't, really work full time as he is supposed to according to the Constitution. Can you give us an update on where you are with this situation as we speak right now? And I'll get Marshall to comment on that.
Well, obviously, we're working on what you would consider a whip count in the House. The Democrats that are interested in this process, and the Republicans, and I'd say the Democrat number is right where it's been the last couple of weeks, which is 35 out of 36. They are pretty much united and ready to go on this. There's this one stickler from the governor's home county who I believe actually works for the governor or has worked for the governor, who clearly isn't that interested in this. The Democrats behind this, and the questions for Marshall and Mike and the Republicans, how many we've got and how many are coming. One of the pinch points we thought might be the governor appointing a Democrat to a county judgeship down in Charleston this past week. He fortunately did not do that, so he, instead of picking a Democrat campaign donor to himself, chose Republican Dan Greer, who will be the next county circuit judge down there. Really, the next point for us here is to make this more public. There's a state Republican meeting a week from now, I believe, just over a week from now on the 14th in Wheeling. It's the summer twice annual meeting of the State Republican Party, Republican Executive Committee, and we'll be running resolutions there for that body to vote on their support of an impeachment or asking the governor to resign or something along those lines. It's being drafted right now, but that will be certainly available to the 130 or so members of the State Republican Party that show up there and put them on the record. Are you for or against this governor?
Marshall, I'd be happy to get your response to that, but I also want to ask a question, which would be, wouldn't the legislature just be weary of impeachments after they get done with this whole state Supreme Court? Would there be an appetite actually to move into another impeachment and therefore in 1 year impeach the top legal official in the state and the chief executive?
Well, Dave, of course, the answer to that is yes. I mean, none of us want to do this, but that's the thing with duty. You do your duty. Doesn't matter how hard it is. Doesn't matter how tired you are. It doesn't matter whether you feel like you've got the support you need or not. You do your job. And the Constitution is very clear that there are specific tasks and specific standards to which the Chief Justice and the other justices and Governor Justice are all to be held, and me. And here's the simple fact. If I do not do my duty under the Constitution and hold these people in the name of the people accountable for doing their duty, I am impeachable because I failed to do my duty. I will not fail in my duty. Period.
So Rob, let me go back to you. By the way, we're talking with Rob Cornelius, Wood County Republican Chairman, and S. Marshall Wilson, Berkeley County State Delegate, both of whom are now openly advocating the impeachment of Governor Justice. Talk to me about what the reasons for that would be. I mean, high crimes and misdemeanors. What would you...
May I field this?
Yes, sure, go ahead.
Please do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Either one of you.
And guys, you understand that I do have a bit of hearing loss, so if I step on you, it's not on purpose. Here's the deal. First of all, if you read the Constitution of the state of West Virginia, I believe it's section 4-9, it actually lays out the requirements for impeaching a public official. It does include crimes and misdemeanors. It also includes maladministration, in other words, poor administration, and also incompetency. Now, incompetency, if you think about it, can include a variety of things. It just means you can't get the job done. It may mean that you are mentally incompetent, physically incompetent, socially incompetent. But what we really need to understand here is this is not a legal process. This is not a criminal process. This is a political process. It is the elected representatives of the people of this state making a decision about elected officials of the state in the name of the people. It's a political decision, and it's based on whether or not we believe that these people are criminal or they're failing to accomplish their job because of poor administration or because they're incompetent in one way or another.
Dave, there have been...
Go ahead, Rob.
Dave, there have been two more things that have happened essentially since I think I last talked to you and Rob maybe 10 days ago.
Can you hold with those two things, Rob? Let's hold on those two things. Let's take a short break. Can you stay with us, Marshall?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we're going to take a short break. We'll come back. There's two things that Rob wants to bring in, and I knew that because you had texted to me there was a couple of other happenings. We're eager to get to them. Let's take this short break. You're listening to Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. We'll be back.
Since 1877, Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies have proudly supported our local community. Farmers and Mechanics has the insurance products to meet your needs, including home, auto, farm, dwelling fire, business owners, and umbrella coverage. Please contact your local independent agency for a review of your insurance needs and ask for a policy from the company that knows you best. Farmers and Mechanics Insurance Companies, just off Edwin Miller Boulevard on Administrative Drive in Martinsburg. FMIWV.com.
The 28th season of the Contemporary American Theater Festival returns to Shepherd University, July 6th through the 29th. A chance to see 6 bold new plays, including A Late Morning in America with Ronald Reagan. This world premiere from award-winning playwright Michael Weller takes us to a casual sit-down with the former president for recollections that only the First Lady might know. For a full schedule and more information, go to catf.org.
Downtown Martinsburg is the place to be for the Fridays at 5 Summer Concert Series from June 1st through August 31st. Enjoy great music and fun with well-known musicians, bands, and Martinsburg artists that'll liven up your spirits at the town square. Concerts begin at 5 p.m. and usually last until 7. Enjoy great music while visiting Martinsburg's Farmers Market, housed on East King Street, where you're able to enjoy fresh fruits and veggies, chicken and pork, and a lot more. Pets are allowed in the square during the concerts, provided they're on a 6-foot leash or less. For the full concert Summer Series lineup, go to MainStreetMartinsburg.com.
Human trafficking is modern-day slavery, and it happens in our own communities. Victims can be any gender, age, or race. Join the Department of Homeland Security's Blue Campaign to learn how to recognize and report this heinous crime. Visit our website at www.dhs.gov/bluecampaign. That's www.dhs.gov/bluecampaign. Your second look could be their second chance.
What is this?
Happy anniversary, honey.
What did you do to our front yard?
You know what they say. Baseball diamonds are a girl's best friend.
Nope, that's not a thing.
Daydreaming of sparkling views, upper deck homers, and diving catches? There's a place for that. Nationals Park. Your Washington Nationals are home for a series against the Miami Marlins from July 5th through the 8th. Get your tickets at nationals.com. See you at Nationals Park, your place for date night.
Welcome back into the final segment of today, this Thursday show of Eastern Panhandle Talk with Rob and Dave. This segment sponsored by L.A. Roberts Jewelers, committed to excellence in quality, design, craftsmanship in historic downtown Martinsburg. We're talking with Rob Cornelius. He is the Wood County Republican Chairman, and S. Marshall Wilson, Berkeley County State Delegate, and we are talking about the possible, believe it or not, the possible impeachment of the governor of West Virginia. As if we don't have enough impeachments going on, we might have this one as well. And Rob, I want to give the floor to you because you were just about to bring up 2 more developments that we might not know about.
Well, two more things have happened since we last talked. One, somewhat personal politically, and the other more general, kind of a permission slip to folks. One, last week, the State Republican Party chairman, Melanie Potter from Charleston, was summoned to the governor's office and ostensibly first offered what amounts to a bribe in West Virginia. I'm not sure criminally you would consider that, but a low-numbered license plate, which is what, Democrat governors and like have handed out for years to people they want to believe are important. And she was subjected to about a 20-minute yelling tirade from the governor and his caddy, Bray Carey, and thankfully left and didn't take the bribe and was very offended by the whole thing. And that's just, more disrespect toward the Republican Party from the governor, who was quite angry at the party and folks in it, like Marshall and myself, are moving for his impeachment. So that's certainly one thing that's happened internally. Externally, much more public and maybe much more important, is kind of a permission slip for why folks, it's okay to get rid of the governor. New polling was out last week from PPP, the big, actually Democrat polling firm out of North Carolina. It was done for a union that operates in West Virginia and Ohio and various surrounding states, and they polled the popularity of the governor. And no one had done that for a while. And the governor's favorables were down to 27%, and that was 3 weeks ago. That was back on June 13th, before this tick-tock of all this bad news of this conference administration, be it on the no-showing work front, be it on the flood front, be it on everything. But even before all the bad news started happening, this governor's popularity was down to 27%. So if you're looking for permission as an elected official to be against the governor or realize there's no penalty for opposing the governor, that should probably be it right there.
But Rob, having low polling numbers is not a reason to impeach an elected official.
Absolutely.
I mean, go back to S. Marshall Wilson when he said. Marshall Wilson said before that to undo the will of the people as exercised through their vote, doesn't he have I would think, a right to hold on to that job for 4 years? I mean, low polling numbers and the offering of a license plate doesn't seem to rise to an impeachable offense to me.
No, and those are certainly just more things, more facts. But again, if the state had recall or referendum like some of the other Western states, perhaps the people would make that decision on their own. As the governor slides toward 20%, the key point being people are displeased. And they're displeased for a reason. They're not displeased because they don't like the outfits he wears. They're displeased because he doesn't do the job. And that's just another
which is called maladministration or incompetency. Not doing the job.
Absolutely.
Do you think Marshall Wilson? Do you think that the charge of malmanagement or incompetency is related in any way to the fact that this governor chooses not to go to work where the workplace is?
Well, I think that's part of it. But the fact of the matter is he's not getting the job done. And part of the reason he's not getting the job done is because he doesn't go to work.
But some would say that we live in a telecommuting world these days. He says it doesn't matter where he is. He's got a staff that's doing the work. He's in touch every day. You're not buying it, though, are you?
No, actually, I have all the same tools at my disposal that he has, and yet I still drive back and forth to Charleston when I'm called out there to do my job. Not only that, but I have run operations spread all over entire states, both Louisiana and Maryland. And I still find it on occasion necessary to leave my safe little place while there's a hurricane going on or whatever and move to the position where my junior leaders are and actually look them in the eye and make sure we're communicating with each other. That's how you make sure the job gets done. Management by walking around. You've got to actually be there and see with your own eyes what's going on. Because if you don't, then you're allowing other people to give you the information they want you to have. Whether they're honest or dishonest, their perspective on it is not the leader's perspective, and you need to bring your perspective and your principles and your priorities to the situation by being there. That's how you lead.
And when it comes to honesty or dishonesty, I think as the investigations go on into this administration, into the flood scandal, you will see exactly how much or how little they're managing and exactly what their intent is, honest or dishonest. And I'm sure your opinion, as you get more information, will continue to harden toward this governor.
And as they prove whether it was purposeful failure to accomplish the task, which would be maladministration, or a failure to accomplish the task through inability, which is incompetency, either way, it's an impeachable situation.
Next steps, Rob. Where do you go from here in terms of trying to create this statewide movement?
Well, obviously, we need the House. One of the ways they can ask for an impeachment is through what amounts to a petition or resolution from majority members. You get that number to 51, but I think we're there right now. Without an official whip count on the Republican side, I would feel safe if we did it today. But again, you don't want to do this with 51. You want to do this with 60 or 65 or 70. The standard was set in 1989 when they got to about two-thirds going after A. James Manchin. That's where you'd like to be. You want it to be bipartisan, and you want it to look like everyone's involved, and that's the way it is. Republicans, Democrats, it's all about the same. They're not thrilled with this guy.
And if this happened, would this happen in the calendar year 2018 or 2019, would you think?
I'd say you have to hurry to get in 2018. You're certainly not going to beat any election deadline, so you would have an interim governor if this governor is removed. But again, we get to that bridge when we come to it. We have a job to do now to remove a guy who's absentee but also incompetent.
Well, we've got to go. Rob Cornelius, as always, thank you. S. Marshall Wilson, thank you. Thank you for your service to our country. Happy day after 4th of July. I'm sure we'll have you both back on very, very soon.
I appreciate you. Thank you much.
Nice talking to you.
Appreciate it, man. Thank you.
And that'll wrap things up, Maddie, for today. Actually turned out to be a pretty fun show.
Absolutely. A lot of good information.
Covered a lot of ground today. Thank you all for being with us on this Thursday morning. We are so indebted to you, our faithful listeners and new listeners alike, and we love having you aboard. We're going to have a great show tomorrow. I'll just promo this. Tomorrow is the Political Roundtable, as Rob calls it, the crew. At 8:10, we'll have Senator Patricia Rucker on for 20 minutes. We'll get her take on this impeachment thing as a member of the Judiciary Committee in the Senate. Jason Barrett, Sammy Brown, and Mike Folk will be around the table to talk politics. You're listening to WRNR Martinsburg.
This is CBS News on the Hour, sponsored by TheraWorks Relief.
I'm Deborah.